Be aware of ROSETTA. What's up, fam? It's your boy Demuir here, purveyor of all sounds underground. Thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel today, where I'll be discussing why I decided to upgrade to a Mac Studio and leveraging this video for you if you're kind of on the fence or thinking about it, just to give you some insight as to not only why I went for it, but how I went about making the transition. So I'm going to try and do this in the most concise and condensed way, just to respect your time. But before we jump into things, what I need from you is that SLC. Hit subscribe, like, comment, and more importantly, hit the notifications bell to stay in touch with the new videos that we have up and coming. All right, so just a brief one, why I decided to finally upgrade my computer and go to a Mac Studio, and I'll show you some B-roll of this in terms of how I have it situated in here. It's actually in front of me, chilling out, watching me, ready to make some extraordinary beats. But anyway, I do not want to digress. The main reason why I decided to go for this change or upgrade is because the iMac 27-inch late 2013 model that I have is simply rendered obsolete by Apple. It goes up to as high as Catalina. It was starting to knock out, certain devices like this, my Native Instruments MK1 controller. I use this on so many beats, High Live and Dirty, Side Piece as well, countless beats, Ode to Chicago, parts 1 and 2, and I can go on for days. I love this thing, but ever since Catalina happened, Apple, for security reasons, knocked this out. And I found a workaround. You can check that video out if you still happen to be in that same situation, and it worked. But I knew going into this that, this would be the right thing to do and upgrade, and I subsequently had to get a micro machine. So, and it's accessible under Ventura, which is the new operating system in the Mac Studio and for most MacBook Pro devices. So anyways, I don't want to digress too far, but that was the main reason. My iMac had become obsolete. I noticed things were just running very slow. The latency was really bad with the iMac. I'd always have to have the low latency mode going on, and even with that, there's still a little bit of lag because I'm using Logic. So that being said, it was just the right time to upgrade, and I haven't upgraded. You can do the math there. It's well over 10 years. I think I got that computer around 2015, but still, it's quite a substantial amount of time. So I was ready to go. So why don't we jump into each of the points, and hopefully my approach and observations will help you not only in your decision, but if you do decide to go for it, how I went about getting this done in the most seamless and most prosperous way possible, just to get back to work. All right, so point number one, when I decided to go for this upgrade, I knew I needed to start from scratch. So I highly recommend not only reviewing the rest of this video, of course, but check out other videos. And this point stuck out to me. A lot of people were saying this. If you're coming from an iMac or an older MacBook Pro, just start from scratch with this new machine. Mainly on the basis of the fact that the operating systems are very different, and as well, the Mac Studio is using the M1 Silicon chip. So the previous versions, or in my case, in my iMac, it was an Intel-based machine. So trying to restore files and different types of data from something that was under an old chipset versus moving to the M1, it just made sense to start everything from scratch. I'm talking about installing all the programs, like everything from scratch. And point number two is to plan, and plan again. I can't tell you how helpful it was to leverage Apple Notes as my friend. I literally went through all of the products that I have in this room and thought about what was on my iMac, and I just had them running simultaneously. So I had the iMac in my living room just chilling, and I'd go through each of the programs and say, oh yeah, I need the authorization code for that. Or is the authorization in the cloud for those particular plugins? For that piece of hardware? Do I need to do anything with the firmware to get up to speed? All of that stuff I just noted in my Apple Notes. So as I was doing the upgrade on the Mac Studio and starting from scratch, all the notes were being updated real time, and I was using my iPhone as well as the old iMac because they're all connected back to my Apple ID. So it's very important to plan. It'll save you a lot of headache in the future. And point number 3, before you even start anything, and I know I'm kind of a little all over the place here, is to make sure you back up for the backup. I have multiple backups. I have about 3 on-site, and then I got another one up in the cloud. And I'm talking like NAS, Synology drives. I got an actual 3 terabit hard drive that I use to back stuff up. And I have another drive just sitting around ready to take on files that I can easily plug in the USB. It's over a terabyte. It's a Samsung T7, and I can plug that in, move files over, and come off it and plug it into the MacBook Studio, and I'm ready to go. Having multiple backups are a good thing, because if you're working with one and let's say you forgot a file or it became corrupted, you know you can follow up on another device or area to grab the same files without any sort of, worry or concern as you're going through the process. Point number 4 is to be aware of ROSETTA. So what ROSETTA is you have to look at it as the software bridge for certain application. In my case, it was Serato Sample, which I was a little disappointed with. Serato Sample recommends that you run Logic in ROSETTA to get all of the normal functionality because there's some glitches with the attack knob. Time stretching was a bit glitchy if you don't run it under ROSETTA. So ROSETTA is like the bridge between Intel-based machines to the new Silicon M1 chip. And I just thought that was very interesting. The way I think I'm going to go about it is I'm just going to run it as per normal. The time stretch seemed to work fine. I don't really use the attack knobs that much, but it is glitchy, and thankfully it only did it with Serato Sample. I didn't have to worry about it on the other applications because going into this, I knew I waited some time, for the M1 chip to hit the market, and research just to make sure people were getting what they expect out of their performance, and I didn't have any headaches. But that was the one exception as it comes to ROSETTA. Actually, no, there's another one. I use Sound Studio, which is an app you get off the App Store for, just previewing audio files or digging in deep surgically. I use it for sampling too. And what I found was it's an application that needs ROSETTA, but it's not as bad, it's not laggy or anything. And as software updates come to move the software over to the M1 chip smoothly and seamlessly, that's something I'm comfortable in waiting for in the future. So it's really just those 2 that I require the use of ROSETTA for. And point number 5 is to make sure you just give yourself time. Because you're going into the Mac Studio brand new, you're reinstalling stuff. Well, not reinstalling, but you're installing stuff from scratch. You're looking at authorization codes, trying to remember passwords and stuff. Don't rush yourself and make this unnecessarily frustrating. Give yourself time. For me, it took about 3 days of just migrating files, authorizing plugins, upgrading where necessary, and it worked out. It was pretty seamless for me. So give yourself some time to go through all of this. It's quite a work effort involved. All right, and point number 6 is to breathe and give yourself the permission to understand that not every product is going to make it over to the upgrade. If you've had a few computers before going to this giant leap, because this feels like a huge leap for me, I always go in with the assumption that not every manufacturer or plugin is going to make it, or certain plugins by a manufacturer I'm going to have to dig into a bit more. And for me, it was Native Instruments, one of the, I think it was the Scarby Electric Piano 88, the EP88, just problems getting it recognized in Contact, and I'm still going to have to dig in a bit more with that. Arturia is a whole other thing. Like way back in the day, I bought that huge box with all of the synths included, and it didn't make it. So right now I can't use any of those plugins, but from what I've seen online, it looks like there's fixes for it, and I just need to dig in a bit deeper. So look out for that. Not everyone will make it on day one. And last but not least, point number 7, just to continue in the theme and the spirit of being realistic, do expect to spend some money. And I'm talking about, just situations where a plugin you might have was super old and now they've upgraded it, so they're charging you for the upgrade. I ran into that a couple of times, which I didn't mind. It wasn't a huge amount of money or anything. The other scenario is, and hopefully you're not in this boat, is if you have cracked plugins and now that you're going on Mac Studio, the whole process to allow that installation is different and it's forcing your hand to purchase those plugins. Just make sure you budget for the ones that you really love. I personally don't use cracked products because in situations like this, and even just software changes to the operating system, sometimes the cracks just don't work as well. But to each his own. You can figure out your budget and work through it, but do watch out for that one because it's a real thing and I did encounter it. And there you have it. Those are my thoughts on Mac Studio and why I said yes to this upgrade and how I went about going through this upgrade. Let me know your thoughts on it. I will be doing another video just to talk about the performance of the unit. I really like this thing, but I'm gonna share those details in the next video. So let me know your thoughts on this one. I appreciate hearing from you. I usually join a conversation within 48 hours of posting. Much love and respect to you. Peace.